Hi, thanks for joining me today for the Bell Video Blog. I'm Eric Bjornstedt with Bell Performance, and today we're going to talk about some good things. We're not going to talk about problems. We're not going to talk about, tax policies or anything like that. What we're going to talk about is something that most people are pretty interested in: ways to make your car last longer. Now, Bell Performance, of course, makes fuel additives, and we always recommend that people treat their fuel, keep their engine clean, make it more efficient, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about simple maintenance things that you can do to make your car last longer. Okay, first thing, cut down on the number of short trips that you take. Now, we understand that, sometimes you got to run to the store, sometimes, maybe you only work 2 minutes away from the office, okay. There are a certain number of short trips that are unavoidable. What we're saying is that people who have predominantly shorter trips in the life of their car, that tends to have more wear and suck more life out of the car than longer trips do. Now, there's a very good reason why that is. Okay, well, first of all, what defines a short trip? Short trip is one that's less than 10 minutes of driving. Now, why does this matter? Well, let's say your car's been sitting overnight. You fire up your car and you take off down to the grocery store. That's 5 minutes away. Now, a 5-minute trip is not going to be long enough for your engine to reach its full operating temperature. Your engine needs probably about 10 minutes to get really fully warmed up. Now, the reason why this is bad is because of water vapor and the oil. Now, after you've been driving, you turn the car off, you let it sit, the engine cools down, and what will happen is that water, which is a normal byproduct of combustion, water will condense from water vapor into liquid water. And it condenses and it goes into the oil. Now, there's no way to avoid this. That has happened ever since cars have been made. No way to avoid that. Now, normally, if you allow the engine to get up to normal ambient operating temperature after about 10 minutes, that water vapor is going to turn back into steam and it's going to go out of the oil. If you don't allow that to happen, if your trips are too short for that to happen, well, then the water is never really going to leave the oil. It's going to dilute the oil, and that's going to affect the ability of the oil to lubricate the engine as it's properly designed to do, and that will shorten your engine life. Now, you say, well, hey, that's nice, but I only work 5 minutes away. I can't do anything about that, and I'm not going to ride my bike to work. So, that's fair enough. You do what you can do. What you can do to compensate for this is to change your oil more frequently. We've written extensively on the fact that you don't need to change your oil every 3,000 miles, about the fact that that is a marketing gimmick, that most auto manufacturers recommend 5,000 to 7,000 miles. But if you also read your owner's manual, what you will see is that they say the exception to that is extreme driving conditions. And by extreme driving, they're not always talking about driving through the desert. They're also talking about a lot of stop and go driving and short trips for precisely the reasons that we're talking about here. So if your life of your car is predominantly short trips, change your oil a little bit more frequently to compensate for that. Okay, number two, second way to make your car last longer: get rid of the extra weight that it's carrying around. Now, on the blog, we talked about the fact that if you carry a lot of extra weight in the trunk of the car, that's going to cut down on your gas mileage. What it's also going to do is it's going to place gradually, over time, it's going to place more stress on systems of your car, like your suspension, your brakes, and even your exhaust. A heavier car takes more work to propel it, and that's not just the engine, it's more work on everything else associated with that car. The suspension takes more work for the brakes to stop it, takes more work for the exhaust. So if you got the bowling league's equipment stashed in your trunk, you may want to tell them to haul their own equipment around, because over time, extra weight like that will sap life out of your car. What we were also going to say is, when we talk about extra weight, we mentioned this in a previous blog, we also mean extra weight on your keys. I think it might have been a couple years ago, we talked about the fact that if you have a lot of keys on a key ring, or if you're like me, back when I was in college, I had like 27 key rings from all these cool places that I went and I visited as a college student. And I thought it was really cool to have all that stuff together on this big, massive jumble of key rings, and just to have it dangling out of my starter. Well, the more weight you place on your ignition, the ignition tumblers, that extra weight will, over time, cause those to wear out and shorten the life of that particular component. So, get rid of the extra weight in both places. You'll make your car last longer. Third one has to do with the exterior of your car. If you in the winter, you live up north, they put a lot of salt down on the roads. You may want to consider washing that salty stuff off, because if that salt, especially if it gets under the undercarriage, it is really going to accelerate rust and corrosion, and that will sap the life out of your car as well. So unless you want a big old rusty heap driving around, wash your car a little bit more often whenever you got that salt on it. And number 4, this one is a little bit more conceptual here, and this concerns the relationship you have with your mechanic. Okay, a lot of people, they're not used to having a relationship with their mechanic. It's kind of like, it's kind of like the Walmart syndrome. You go to Walmart, you get in, you buy what you need, you get checked out by some cashier you've never met before, you leave, and you go on minding your own business, and that's fine. But that's not always the best way to do things with everything in life, and that includes your car and your mechanic. You need to have a relationship with the mechanic you can trust. You need to maintain that relationship over a longer period of time. Your mechanic, as they spend time working on your car, they will develop a history of your car, of what's been done to it. They'll know, they can recommend the things that you really do need to have done, as opposed to the dishonest mechanic that doesn't have any skin in the game as far as maintaining a relationship, and they're just trying to get as much money out of you as possible. No. The mechanic that you maintain your relationship with, it's in their best interest to keep you coming back as a customer. They're going to have your best interests in mind as far as recommending what needs to be done with the car. But even beyond that, the reason why you want to have a good relationship with your mechanic is that they need to know what you're trying to accomplish with respect to owning this car. And what we mean by that is, if you get to know your mechanic, and your mechanic knows that you want your car to last as long as possible, or maybe your mechanic knows that you're not really concerned with that, you just want to keep it in as good condition for 3 years because you're going to get another one after 3 years. Okay, the more the mechanic knows about you and what you expect out of the life of your car, the mechanic will see things differently. They will notice things, they will pay attention to different things, and they will be able to make better recommendations to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish in car ownership. I mean, that's really the best way we can put it. Having a good relationship with your mechanic is a great way for you to get the most out of your car. So, review. Wash your salty car. Get rid of the extra weight so that you don't sap the life out of your car. Be friendly with your mechanic. Make sure they know what you want, and cut down on short trips. If you can't shut down on short trips, make sure you change your oil a little bit more often. That's what we have for today. Thanks for joining me for the Bell Video Blog. I'm Eric Bjornstead with Bell Performance. Read more about this and other things on our 2 websites, bellperformance.com and wefixfuel.com. Thanks for joining me. See you next time. Bye-bye.